Hey, how's it going, everybody? Before you guys leave and feel like this video is too dark, I want to apologize for that. But I thought, I want to compensate for the shitty lighting in some way. So I'm using my mic today. I usually use this mic for my video setups for my other account. I do have another account on YouTube. I do some work related videos on that. We do presentations. We do all kinds of just go and have a look. Just go and have a look at that channel. It's called. I'm going to link it down below. But anyway, so I thought I almost didn't record this video. Because I thought I'll record it in the morning, but just somehow I could not. And this video was supposed to go up. And as the day went by, and as you know, you tend to push things off for later in the day, and most of the times you end up not doing those things and you push it off for another day. But this year for me, it's just all about consistency. So I thought, instead of me not recording this video today and not putting anything up on YouTube and just breaking my streak of consistency, let me just do it in the shitty lighting. It's all right. I just got done doing like an online training session with a client. I'm sitting in my sister's room. The lighting is not that great. I'm trying to compensate for it with maybe a little bit better audio quality, but I'm still going to do it. Maybe not a lot of people are going to watch this. Maybe some people just tune out and they don't watch it or whatever, but it's all right, because I'm going to talk about something important. And this is something important it might not be important for everybody. Of course, you will never get to know what it is if you have already tuned out. For people that have stayed till this far in the video, which is like I guess 1 or 2 minutes right now into the video, I have a very important message. It's a learning. I want to be a little frank. I want to confess about something. And the only reason that I'm doing this, and this is one of my biggest learnings in 2023 and overall in the last 3 years, and the only reason that I do this, that I'm being this vulnerable and putting it out there, is in hopes that it helps somebody else like me out there that is probably going through the same thing, right? So this is basically for freelancers or entrepreneurs and people that are trying to build their businesses, or just build some kind of an enterprise around their own hobbies, around their own interests or ideas, especially solopreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, especially for people and youngsters that do not have a team. You're trying to hustle alone, get shit done alone. This is for you guys. So my biggest learning in 2023, and this has got to do with a lot of other things that was going on in my life. Of course, one of them being just I was wasting a lot of time doing things that was not aligned with me trying to grow my work at all or by any means. But a lot of times what tends to happen is that when you start working, right, and especially as a freelancer, when you start working, we forget to distinguish the business from ourselves. Whatever income that we get, whatever income that we generate from the business, we think that's ours to claim. But as as one matures, as you stay around for a while, and as you run into roadblocks in your work, as your money runs out, you start to realize that all of the money that you thought was yours, that you were generating from your work, is not actually yours. It belongs to the system that is the enterprise itself. You have a small share of that, right? You have the claim to a small share of that, whatever it is that you decide for yourself or are able to generate for yourself. But that entire thing is not yours. So what happened in my case was that I was earning money from my work for all, and I have like three different, or at this point 3-4 different sources from where I'm getting my money. I would get the money, I would spend the money. If I saved the money, or if some kind of an expense turned up, and if I had money with me at that point, I would pay for that expense with that money, right? But if, like, let's say some kind of an expense showed up and I did not have any money, because I was just using that money whenever and wherever I wanted, then I would it was just a shitty situation to be in. It's not like and I've had all kinds of months. I've had months where I've had no money. I've not had money to pay for rent in time. Rent's been late for a few months, and I have to get money from here and there, ask for help, wait for a while, and just it adds a lot of stress to your life. You already got so many things to worry about. especially when once you're just getting started out, you're probably managing all kinds of different things by yourself, and it just adds to it. It's even if you're not thinking about it, it adds to it. And for me personally, it turned into this monster that I was just not willing to face. I knew I had a problem. I knew I was not taking care of my finances. I had nothing written down on paper. I was just generating money, I was spending money, and that was about it, and hoping for the best. And I knew it would crash and burn at some point, and on some months it did crash and burn. Just not as bad that I would actually have to sit down and hold myself accountable for it, right? But also keep in mind that I was trying to tune all of this out by just getting high all the time. So there was that going on. But it's like, so I'm reading this book now. Where is it? Okay, let me show you guys this book. So I have two books today that I want to talk about. That number one is this monster, this little book that that has just turned my dreamscape into a crazy landscape interpretation of dreams. I cannot do a chapter of this book, more than a chapter of this book at once, not because I cannot read it or go through it, just because it fucks me up so bad that I need to process it. Anyway, it's a great book. So another book that I recently got is Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. And one of the chapters in this book is called, this chapter, Do Not Hide Unwanted Things in the Fog. So what tends to happen is in this chapter, Dr. Peterson talks about how we tend to be in denial about a lot of things that we know is going to cause us a lot of momentary pain. And when we tend to hide things in the fog, like just think about a monster hiding in the fog. You know that there's a monster that you're hiding from, that you're willingly, proactively trying to hide from. And you cannot see because there's a lot of fog. And this fog is basically the denial that you're in. But when you do not even know what the monster looks like, you're just always anxious about a monster being out there in the fog. So it's always better to kind of dissipate that fog, not be in denial, and whatever the monster is, whatever that demon is, just face it. Because the demon that you know is always better to deal with than the demon that you do not even know exists, or do not even know. I mean, you know it exists, you have some kind of an idea, but you're not willing to face it. So he talks about, and the way that he goes into different kinds of stories and archetypes and all that, and trying to explain how these things kind of shape our life, and how we can look at stories and try to shape our lives in accordance to those stories. And there's meaning in these stories that we can turn to, that we can depend on to give us direction in our life. There's a lot of things that we also hide in the fog, right? Unwanted conversations, problems that you're trying to procrastinate. I mean, who does not have a procrastination problem? What do we tend to, whatever we think is going to, basically make us feel a bit uncomfortable in the moment, and is going to make us, just sway away from what our baseline level is, right? Body does not want to, and that's like, I mean, away from Dr. Peterson's book, we know that it's a physiological fact that the body's topmost priority, or one of the biggest priorities, is to conserve energy. So the body quite literally on a physiological level likes being in a comfort zone, because when you have a pattern in your life and when you're not doing uncomfortable things that makes you expend energy out of the ordinary, your body is able to conserve energy, and it likes that pattern. It likes to stay there. It likes a level of homeostasis, a state of balance. So it's just difficult overall to do things that are uncomfortable, especially, and I mean, of course, mentally also, to face things that are uncomfortable. So we tend to hide all of these things in the fog. And this finance issue was one of those things that I was hiding in the fog. I knew that I am literally at the helm of an enterprise. There is money coming in from 3-4 different sources. And as long as I am able to, just take care of my expenses most of the time, and as long as things are being paid for most of the time, and as long as I feel good that, okay, I've got money coming in from here and there, I was not trying to willingly face the problem that every few months the system, or rather the lack of the system, it crashes and burns, and I end up being broke, and I end up having no money at all. and I was just not willing to face it because it was very uncomfortable, and I was all most of the time just numbing it out by getting high and doing all kinds of other things, anything else, just to face the demon, just to not be in denial that I am, at the top of the business, not face the fact that I probably will have to go through the hardship of doing my finances, setting limits for myself, building that discipline, curbing some of my expenses, and just channelizing all of those things and having a good idea of where I'm at. So all things said and done, my biggest learning and probably my biggest progress in 2023 was that I was finally able to get to a point where I was not doing that anymore, because as I got sober, as I pulled myself out of that vicious loop, and especially pulled my energy out of that vicious loop of getting high multiple times in a day, every single day, so all of my energy that was trapped in that, I was now able to utilize and doing a lot of different things. So it's now been 10 weeks, and it's also been 10 weeks that I've actually been tracking my expenses. And when you actually start doing that for your enterprise, when you start doing that for your business, it does not take that long for that system to self-organize itself, to the point that not only do I not have money for all of my expenses and a little bit more, and of course, after cutting my own salary, I'm talking about my business expenses, not my personal expenses, right? Not only do I not have money at the correct time for my business expenses and my own salary, and then a little bit surplus on top of that, within these 10 weeks, I now have a very solid idea of what my projections are going to be for the next few coming months, what I need to do, and to do that, when all of that money is going to come in, and what are some of the roadblocks that I could run into and that I need to solve. So when I actually dissipated the fog, I faced this monster head on. It turned out that it was not as scary as I thought it was going to be. I was just blowing it out of proportion in my mind, half-woven thoughts, because I was literally not willing to put it down on paper. And when I dissipated the fog, it turned out that the monster that I was worrying about was just a small reptile. And I was able to kind of reflect back on this. I did this long before I started reading this book, but I was able to kind of circle back and think about it, really reflect about it only after I read this book. And did I just say read it? Okay, after I read this book. Anyway, so I feel like, books choose you, you don't choose books. So just the fact that I was able to stumble upon this book and just get it at the perfect time, at the very time that I needed it, it's just so amazing. It's just in accordance with everything that kind of happens in my life, and everything happens for a reason. So great chapter. Do not hide things in the fog, unwanted things in the fog, and you just don't create unnecessary baggage for yourself. So all in all, if you're a young entrepreneur, if you're just starting out, and this might sound like some of you graduates, some of you MBA graduates might be thinking like, why is this guy talking about such a basic and trivial thing? Of course, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to have your expenses sorted out, and you need to have a financial system and all that. But I'm not talking about what you should ideally be doing. Ideally you should be taking care of your mental health. Ideally you should be taking care of your energy balance. You should be consuming a certain amount of everybody should know that you need to consume a certain amount of food to respect and meet your energy balance, and you do not need to be you need to eat healthy, you need to sleep 8 hours and all those things, right? So everybody knows what the ideals are, but we are human. We cannot meet those ideals. So this is not for the people that just assume that everybody is somehow meeting the ideals. This is for people that will end up making these mistakes. You're probably already making these mistakes, or maybe you can just learn from this and not make the same mistakes that I did. It's never too late. I wasted 3 years. I've been working for 4 years. I've been generating income for myself for the last 4 or 5 years, but only now have I really started to put it down on paper and really track things, and it just feels so good. It feels so good to the point that not only do I not have stress, I feel optimistic about my work. I feel like saving more. I feel like channelizing the money more into into ways and means that is going to be more lucrative for my work, for myself. I'm able to see a brighter future ahead. and not just worry about my expenses and how much money I have right now and how much of it I can spend. What this also allows you to do is that it allows, and that this is another great book, just because I have it in front of me, is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And a good friend of mine, Tanya, a good friend of ours, mine and Yachika's, she came to visit us a while ago from London, and she was down here with a boyfriend who is both of those guys. I mean, it's rare to see people this young, people our age, actually having their shit figured out in terms of money and all that, right? But these guys are on the right path, and we had a very long and very nice conversation over dinner about everything related to, just opportunity cost, knowing the importance of investments, in terms of time, in terms of speed, in terms of discipline, and just everything, right? We just had a great conversation. So I always had this book lying around with me, but I never read beyond 3 chapters. And when they mentioned this book, I read it again, and oh my god, there are just so many little tidbits and just pieces of wisdom and information in this book that is, I feel like, so important for people like us, because this is a fact, and this is what my dad tells me a lot of times, that 90% people are just not financially educated. People have money, right? People are generating a lot of money, but it's that Pareto distribution in this as well, that 80% of people, only 20% of people have like a really good foundation in terms of being educated in terms of their finances and how to deal with their money, and 80% just are not. So if you are financially educated, or at least attempt to financially educate yourself and build these systems, fail your way forward, trial and error your way forward, to build these systems for yourself in your 20s, then you just might be the 30-year-old that has has everything figured out, has an exit plan properly from whatever you're doing to generate money, and just have money work for you and you not have to work for money. And what this helps you do, and it has helped me do, is also be able to spend money every single month without having the guilt that I'm spending money. Because when you do not have an idea of what your finances are on paper, whatever money you are spending, you're kind of feeling guilty about it, because in the back of your mind you know that you have no system in place. You're kind of just generating money and spending money and just hoping for the best, right? And doing whatever you can to kind of just do some kind of a jugaad. But when you have the system down, then you can properly see that, okay, this is a small fund that is actually my dispensable income. Now then you can do whatever the fuck. Once everything else is sorted, you do whatever the fuck you want with that income, right? Who cares? And it feels great to spend that money. It feels really nice to spend that money. I'm not saying that you're just going to have this money every single time right from the moment that you start earning, but at some point you will be able to, right? At some point you are going to have dispensable income. But it's like that same thing, that discipline equals freedom, when it is actually when you build constraints and constrain your spending habits and constrain your income and all these habits around money, that you are actually able to have some kind of a freedom and guilt-free spending capacity. And you need to build that right now. You cannot wait for yourself to be a millionaire first and then just build these habits. These are habits that you'll kind of have to build from now, so that you can kind of just extrapolate these habits later on and not have to build new systems. Because that limbic friction is just going to increase when you are a 30-year-old. It's much more difficult. It's going to be much more difficult for you to build a system like that and educate yourself on money and learn the psychology of money and build financial systems and understand your work. Then it's much more difficult than it is right now. So yeah, I mean, these are just some things to think about, and I just really hope that if you're an entrepreneur, if you're just somebody, just a normal person, just struggling through this mad journey that we call life, that this helps you. Because again, ideally you're supposed to know about all this, ideally you're supposed to do all of these things from day one, and you might look down upon people that are not able to do these things from day one. But again, ideally you're supposed to do a lot of things. Ideally you're supposed to take care of your metabolic health, your mental health, your physical health. But who are we holding to these ideals, and how many people are actually doing things ideally? So we need to have these conversations. We need to talk about our own, and like I'm willing to talk about what my mistakes are, just so that some people can learn, because I have learned. And Yeah, that's about it for today. Videos going up, not putting this up. Let's maintain this consistency. The quality might be shitty, but again, I'm compensating by this mic and just talking about something that I hope is helpful for other people. And I'm going to be back with another one day after tomorrow. We'll talk about some other kind of weird thing. Alright, I'll see you guys.